Pimax Crystal Super in DCS is absolutely incredible. I've only just jumped out of the rig a little while ago and it is absolutely amazing. The colors in this headset, they are just incredible. The Pimax Crystal Light has really good colors as well. The local dimming is incredible to give you those really good blacks, but the increased field of view, I love the form factor of the Pimax Crystal Super and the eye tracking together make this headset incredible. Now the resolution is mind-blowing. And the distance resolution is what really shocked me the most. Flying in the aircraft, looking down at the ground, it is absolutely beautiful. You're up at several thousand feet, looking down, everything looks really sharp. And with the quad views and the eye tracking, I'm getting a really good frame rate. Even when I'm down low to the ground and flying around, at no time did I feel like I was getting any stuttering or the headset just didn't feel good. Man, we have really come on leaps and bounds. Just a few years ago, with the graphics cards that we had, the 4090 even, you know, pushing the Pimax Crystal Light before we had things like quad views was really a struggle. And the software is making it. It really is making a huge difference to the gaming experience. Now, something else is the wedge. The face wedge that I showed in my previous videos, it's basically a 3D printed wedge that is helping to space the foam gasket to fit my face better. I've got quite a narrow face, and in the motion rig, moving around, the headset can wobble on your face. So this helps it fit better. But the downside with this is it can reduce field of view if it's not set correctly. So in the last video, it felt like we were missing out on some extra degrees of field of view. So I've actually moved them a little bit further back. You'll see in the testing later on in the video what I've done, but by moving those down a bit, it's not pressing into my cheekbones as much. So my face is able to get closer into the face gasket itself. And I've actually got it on the Pimax Crystal Light here, but I'm also using the Velcro option from Studioform's Comfort Kit, where you actually cut the Velcro down to size. Depending on the kit you get pre-cut ones, but you do also have full-size ones that you can cut down. And you can just see there how I've sort of tapered that in, and it's got 3 layers, and this is working really good as well. So we're going to test both of those out. You're also going to see the standard thinnest face gasket for the Pimax Crystal Light's horizontal field of view, because it was missing in the last test. So I'll include that as well. And a big shout out to Tally Mouse. Tally Mouse is a YouTuber, and I can't believe he's only got a couple of thousand subscribers. That guy's content is so damn good, and a big thanks to him, because I was able to confirm some of my settings and tweak and change a few extras to get the Pimax Crystal Super running at its best. Plus, he's got an offshoot, or I guess it's just a tweaked version of M. Butcher's Quad Views companion app. And there's some settings in that which have just, man, it's really transformed DCS. So I'll show you my settings, give you a quick overview, but if you want a deep dive on how to get your computer running really well with a Pimax Crystal Light or a Pimax Crystal Super, that video is a watch. So I'll put a link to that up the top here, be in the description as well. This is a good one. We're going to do some FOV testing of the horizontal field of view for both the Pimax Crystal Super, Pimax Crystal Light, plus I'm going to show you in game. Although it's not an exact science what I've done, I'm going to try and show you in the cockpit of the F4 how much field of view you gain and using the large lab modes, wider FOV with the IPD offset that I'm using. And it's quite a large jump. It really does add to that immersion of making you feel like you're in the game as opposed to just looking through a window into that world. Don't get me wrong, the Pimax Crystal Light is still a really good headset, but yeah, the Pimax Crystal Super is just, it's really where I want to see VR going. To me, it's that generational step forward we've been waiting for since we lost that really wide FOV of the AKX. So it should be a good one. Let's get into the video. You know the drill, like and subscribe, share these videos with all your friends. And then at the end, we're going to do a little bit of flying in DCS and a carrier launch in the F14. Let's go. Okay, so I know everyone was disappointed that in my previous video, I was not testing the FOV with the Pimax Crystal Light to its full. I was already testing it with the face wedges in there. I was using it more of a comparison against the Pimax Crystal Super, which you'll see in a minute. But for this test, we are spinning it up again before we jump into DCS and go for a fly with the Pimax Crystal Super. And I am running the standard thinnest face gasket, or I guess face foam gasket that you get with the Pimax Crystal Light. So there's no wedges in here, and we're going to do an IP and we're going to do an FOV test with this as vanilla to see what we get. And then we're also going to run it with the wedges, but with a slight adjustment, because I think we're going to get a bit more FOV out of it, even using the wedges if you've got a thin face like I do. Let's go. Okay, we are in the test HMD environment. Let's make our way up to the test. Yeah, and that is pretty much it. I actually think we're pretty much at the limit of what the panel can produce, because I've got the dial at the back crank right up. My eyeballs are almost touching the lenses, to be honest. And although this isn't playable for me because I've got a fair bit of light bleed on the side, and if I was to shake my head, the head unit does move around a bit, but we're at 102. So unfortunately, that is it. That is all you're going to get out of the Pimax Crystal Light if you've got my IPD, my face shape. So yeah, take it as you will, but that's pretty much where we're at. We're at 102, not a penny more. So let's jump into the vertical FOV. I don't think much will have changed here. Yeah, we're kind of at 102, 104. Isn't that interesting? It certainly has what feels to me to have a slightly taller vertical FOV, because I can still see that bottom dot at 104. So that's when I sort of lose it at 102, 104, so maybe 103, although this only goes in increments of twos. But look, that's my result. 104 vertical, 102 horizontal. Certainly not bad, but it really does feel like you're looking through a square. And yeah, that really is. Yeah, I guess that's what you see, but what a difference going back from the Super to the Pimax Crystal Light. The Pimax Crystal Light is awesome, okay? It really is an awesome headset. And for the money nowadays, man, to me, it's a bargain. But you notice that you've gone down in FOV. Right, let's try the wedges again to see if we're able to squeeze a little bit more out from my previous tests and see what we get. Okay, and they are in. You can see them just there. That's a real balance to make sure that there's enough of that touching the actual Pimax interface so that you don't get any light bleed coming through the side there, although you could pack that out with a bit of Velcro. That's about as good as you're going to get it with these wedges. So let's jump back in and see if it's made any difference to the FOV. Wow, instantly that is a different headset. The comfort is just on another level. It fits my face really, really well and nice and firm. If I was to shake my head from left to right, I won't do it too vigorously. Oh, you know what? Let's do it. There we go. And yeah, barely any movement from my perspective. So if I'm in the simulator, I'm getting thrown around. That is fitting my face really good. So let's jump back into the horizontal FOV. Do you know what? Nah, I lose it at 102. So we're losing just a couple of degree. It's absolutely nominal. And that's all positioning. If I kept mucking around with that, I might be able to just get it to 104. But yeah, I'm happy at 102 with the 3D printed face gaskets or the face gasket wedges installed. That is pretty darn good. We'll try the Studioform's Velcro option now just to see if there's any difference. But we are splitting hairs at this FOV, so I really doubt it. We'll just quickly finish off with the vertical though, just to make sure. Yeah, and we lose it at 104, so no change there. So there we go, with the face gasket 3D printed wedges in the Pimax Crystal Light. We're at 104 and then 102. Right, let's put the Velcro Studioform wedges in and see how it goes. Right, I'll give you a quick look. So that's the Velcro option there, and I've got them raised right up as far back as I can, but just making sure we're not getting any light bleed through that area there. Again, you can pack it with some more Velcro if you want, but You can see what that's doing to the curvature of the face gasket to fit my face properly. And let's give that a try. Gosh, that is just so comfortable. Might just, there we go, re-zero myself, but super, super comfortable. All right, here we go. Yeah, we lose it at 102, exactly the same as the 3D printed wedges. So for my face shape, no difference whatsoever when it comes to the Pimax Crystal Light's gasket and the way it's fitting my face. We'll just test the vertical, and same again, we lose it at 104. Right, there's the results. Now let's jump into the Pimax Crystal Super and see what we get. Okay, so just really quick, what we are doing, as you've seen in the Pimax Crystal Light, but I just thought I'd show you them. So there is the 3D printed wedge. I've got some Velcro on there, and I heated it up with the Watts hairdryer and then just massaged it so that it had a bit of a curve to it. And then that is the Studioform's Velcro option. So you can basically cut them down to size and get them to layer like that so that you can actually I guess, build a bit of a ramp to it to get it to fit your face shape better. But I'm interested to see, especially with the Pimax Crystal Super, we've got a bit more compression there and a bit more give. This is obviously rigid. Of course, you could change that and modify it to be a thinner wedge, but placement and position is everything as well. So it's not pressing on the cheeks here. We really want it just cupping the side of our head, so we can allow our face to get as deep into those lenses as possible to maximize the FOV. So let's start with the 3D printed wedges. I'm just going to move the position of those to try and get them as close to the edge as possible so that it's not pressing against my cheek there and reducing the FOV. Let's go. Okay, so we are in normal mode and we've got no IPD offset. Let's test the FOV. All right, so we are running normal mode in the Pimax software, and we have got the 3D printed wedges in, but we've moved them back. We've got them positioned just enough so that it's cupping the side of my face and making the HMD nice and firm and fit my face properly. But hopefully we are not diminishing any of that FOV. So here we go. Pimax Crystal Super, normal FOV in the software. And look, pretty much right there is where we were maxing out with the Pimax Crystal Light. Okay, I just need to straighten this up. But oh my goodness, I can still see it at 116. I can still see it at 118. Oh, I can still just see it at 120. We lose it at 122. Wow, that is massive. I am super, super stoked with that. That is huge. I'm pretty sure we were only getting 114 in my previous test where I had the wedges positioned. And this is amazing. I'm genuinely blown away. It's not quite as stable on the edges. So if I try and adjust the face gasket at all, the 3D printed wedges can, there's just not enough Velcro holding it in there. So I could modify it a little bit, but certainly this is the way to run it. So I'm going to call it at 122. That is epic. I cannot wait to try this out in game. Now, I wonder if that's made any difference to the vertical FOV. Let's go. And I know I probably look a bit low to the ground in the test HMD environment. I just haven't recentered it, so. All right. Yeah, we're pretty much tapping out at 100. So, wow, there you go. 3D printed wedge, repositioned in a new position to get it off my cheeks using the normal FOV mode in the Pimax software, 122 for horizontal. That is epic. Now let's enable the large lab mode, the wider FOV in the software. I won't do any IPD offset yet for this test, and we'll see what a difference it makes. Oh boy, instantly cross-eyed, unusable, but let's test the FOV for the purpose of science. Here we go. So we can still see it. 126. 128. Let me just straighten the headset up. Yeah, we're pretty much losing it at 128. Yep, I'm going to call that at 128. So, gosh, what were we at before? We were at 122. So there you go, a 6 degree of horizontal FOV increase, but unusable at this stage. We'll just quickly test the vertical. Yeah, we're still at 100 there, so nothing's changed. There we go, 100 vertical, 128 horizontal, but let's tweak the IPD offset and see if we can maintain as close to 128 as possible. Right, we're back in. We've got an IPD offset of negative 1.5 for both left and right eye. And let's see how much horizontal FOV we lose. Gosh, look at that. We've gone from 122 to 126. So we've gained 4. That's not too bad. I mean, wow, that's incredible. That's where it is without the large lab mode. I know it might not seem like a lot with the results you're seeing here, but in the actual HMD, it really is a difference. So yeah, there you go. So we've lost 2 degrees FOV from having the IPD offset, but we've gained 4 degrees FOV over the normal mode. So I'm really happy with that. That is really, really cool. We'll jump back into vertical just to confirm. Yeah, we pretty much lose it at 100, so nothing's changed there. There we go. Large lab mode, the wide FOV in the software with an IPD offset of negative 1.5 for both eyes, and we are running the 3D printed wedges for the face gasket, but moved back, and we're at 126. Not too bad. Let's try the Studioform's Velcro option and see if there's any difference. Okay, there's the Velcro. So I've got it back as far as I can so that it's not resting on my cheeks around this area here, and it's all sealed. We've got no light bleed, and we've still got quite a good form to the face. Now we are still in the large lab mode with the IPD offset. We're going to work backwards with our test results, and we'll jump straight in and see what a difference this makes. Okay, so we were at 126. Oh, it's just not quite straight. No, I think it's pretty much the same. We're at 126. We lose it at 128. We'd be splitting hairs over maybe a single degree, but not a lot. There we go. So 126. It's pretty much the same running the Studioform. And to be honest, I really don't know if there's any difference in testing the other metrics, because the gasket itself is going to fit exactly the same, but definitely moving the wedges further back and trying to tweak that position is ideal to getting the most FOV you possibly can. So really, really impressed. Now let's get into DCS and see what the game looks like. Right, we're in the F4 Phantom on the Nevada map, and gosh, this is such a beautiful airframe. But for this bit of the video, we're actually testing the FOV. So I'm sitting as still as I can. I'm going to hit spacebar on the keyboard to recenter the HMD. Okay, that's my reset there. And I can pretty much see the very edges of the left and right review mirrors for my horizontal FOV. So that's really what I'm going to use as my visual reference for what I'm seeing. Now, bearing in mind, I am running the wide or the large lab mode FOV. I've got the face gasket wedges in position to maximize the FOV, and we were reading, I think, about 126 degrees horizontal FOV. So now we're going to test the Pimax Crystal Light and see what a difference that makes for our viewable horizontal FOV. Okay, and here we are. We're back in DCS. We've got the Pimax Crystal Light on. We've got the wedges installed, and they're positioned to get the maximum FOV. And we're now going to sit as still as we can and do a reset of the HMD. And I'm just getting a visual of what we can see. Wow, That is quite incredible how much FOV we lose. It's still, I mean, you still feel like you've got a nice field of view, but compared to the Pimax Crystal Super, yeah, it is night and day. Right, so let's have a look at the Pimax Crystal Super settings first off. So if we jump into device, scroll down, I've got the refresh rate at 90 Hertz. I've got my timeout set to 5 minutes. That's purely because I do lots of recording and I don't want the headset constantly timing in and out. This can also help though, if you're having any kind of tracking loss issues. Let's say you take your headset off for, a minute just to do something and then put it back on. It often can be when the screen has timed out and then it reinitializes. I find you can have a tracking issue. So a longer screen out time can also help. Now with the brightness, Telemouse has advised to knock that back to 99. You can play around with that. I personally don't mind it at 100, but if you're finding in-game it's just a bit too bright, especially in DCS, the boffins out there are recommending just to bump that back so you can play around with that. This stuff here is just to change the light bar if you're into that sort of thing. Eye tracking on, auto IPD adjustment, turn that off. Once you've got your IPD set, there's really no need to have that constantly adjusting in and out. Unless you've got lots of different people trying your headset, you're better off just disabling that. Eye tracking calibration. Again, this is something that you set once, and when you click that, you'll see an overlay in the headset that you can then step through adjusting and looking at different points for it to configure it. Now let's get down to handle vibration adjustment. Now, this is an interesting one. I believe this is to help with the vibration that you can experience in the headset. Now, I haven't played with any of that. I've just left it as is. So yeah, you can have a play around and see if you're having any issues with that. Okay, so games. This is where you're going to want to adjust the settings specifically for DCS. So in my case, I've actually got the large lab mode enabled. Now, if you don't have the lab mode or this FOV option, it's because you're not running the latest version of the Pimax software. So you'll need to download that to get access to this. And this is only accessible to the Pimax Crystal Super. Large lab mode, render quality is high, meaning it's native. And if you're following Telemouse's instructions or you're using the companion app, the QuadViews companion app from either MButcher or Telemouse's fork of that, then you're going to want to turn this off. Otherwise, the Pimax software will override that. So by turning this off, you can then use the companion app and make sure that this Pimax central priority rendering is off. If you don't know what this is to allow you to have foveated rendering. It'll be fixed though, so it'll just be the outer ring, and it's really for games that don't natively have any type of fovation. So you can try and get an uplift by enabling that and just, not blurring, but making the outer edges and the outer ring blurrier than the center, which will be the full resolution. Now, none of these options here will show up unless you're enabling any of this stuff here. And smart smoothing off, lock to half frame rate off, hidden area mask is pretty much on by default. And really what that does is it blanks out a render for areas of the panel that are not visible looking through the lenses. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but that is on by default. If ever it's off, tick it on. Vive compatibility, we're not using any Vive stuff, so we won't enable that. If we jump into general, a few of the boffins out there mentioned to turn the home off. Apparently this can chew up some CPU priority, so I've disabled that. I haven't actually noticed any difference with it on or off, but it's the Pimax home. I don't need it, it's off. Then down to advanced. This is probably the most important step if you are going to run the large lab mode, the wider FOV through software. If you're having any kind of cross-eyed or distortion and it's really hurting, this is where running some kind of an offset may help. My Air Force friend Andrew has also verified this. He's got a Pimax Crystal Super as well, and he's running pretty much identical settings, and he's had a field of view increase, but no eye strain by running these negative values. And to give you an example, I'm getting about an extra 6 degrees field of view running the negative 1.5 with the large lab mode horizontally. Local dimming, again, we've now got this option with the latest software, so you can adjust the local dimming in the headset. And if you're having any tracking issues or you've got a motion rig so you're moving around a lot, I'd disable this active chaperone. Otherwise, once you center your headset, get yourself all set up, if you move your controllers out of that play space and then the rig starts to move and you get too far away, you'll have the chaperone show up and it can distract from the game. It can even cause tracking issues, I've found. So disable that. If you're in a motion rig and you're doing simulator stuff, I'd turn that off. It's not needed. Okay, this is Tallimouse's Quad Views companion app. So I believe it's just a fork of M. Butcher, who was the original developer who got all that working. But this is really cool because this is pretty much DCS specific. And I love that we've got Tallimouse's favorites down here. Now, because I'm running a 5090, I've pretty much got all the same specs he's running. I was able to just enable this TM's favorites, but you can also click this one here, give me FPS, and watch what happens to all the adjusters. He's already fine-tuned all this. So, you know, again, huge credit to Tallymouse for giving us this companion app that's been customized for DCS. And I'm finding Tallymouse's favorites is working fantastic for me. It's what you're going to see in a minute in the gameplay. And you can adjust all of these sliders to your heart's content. And if you hover over these little indicators here, it'll tell you exactly what it's for. So I love it. It's really descriptive, easy to use. And yeah, this is a no-brainer in my book. Okay, so one of the settings in the NVIDIA control panel that Tallymouse touches on is image scaling. And he goes into detail and explains about this image scaling and that it can actually have an impact in VR. So if you're struggling with those distant objects and spotting aircraft, I follow what he said here, which is pretty much what I've done. I've turned it on, I've set the sharpening at 20%, and it apparently gives us sharpening in game. And man, I got to be honest, I don't know if it's the Pimax Crystal Super or this image sharpening, but it is the best I have ever seen it through a VR headset in my life. It is absolutely stunning. So I'd follow these instructions as well. So now let's jump to my DCS game settings. And you can see here, resolution. I'm running this really high because I'm doing screen recording. So there's some extra frames that you can get out of this if you're not wanting to actually record your footage and put it up to YouTube like I am. So I would bump all of that stuff right down. I wouldn't be mirroring your screen resolution or any of that stuff. I'd turn all that stuff off. It's just not needed. But pretty much like for like, I followed Tallymouse's instructions. Most of the settings I already was running, DLSS, quality, DLA for anti-aliasing. So a lot of that stuff was set the same. A lot of my forest visibility, forest details and stuff was all the same. But where we really get into it was textures, terrains, that sort of stuff. I found I was following his more, and I had sharpening cranked right up. So I've taken that back a little bit, and I guess it's just not needed if you're running the Pimax Crystal Super, plus you're doing that NVIDIA sharpening. Do you need sharpening on sharpening? It can start to get a bit almost twinkling. Looks like little twinkles in the distance. So I think following his instructions, almost like for like, is going to be the way to go. Shadows as well, this is a big one. Getting all these shadows set correctly, cockpit illuminations and stuff, and especially this sort of stuff here like visibility range, civilian traffic, clouds, water, SSAO. And I guess if you do a lot of low-level flying, you might want this stuff on. It really depends on what you're doing. But also just following instructions about SSAO, SSLR, and that sort of stuff. You might want lens effect on. I think that's really just subjective. But we'll get down into the VR stuff. And this stuff down here is probably the most important. If you're running the Pimax Crystal Super or even the Pimax Crystal Light, pixel density at 1 is all you need. If you're running lower resolution headsets, on the odd occasion I use the Quest 3. That's when I'll bump that up to 1.5 or even 2. So yeah, you can play around with that. But these are pretty much my settings. Now, I guess the most important steps if you have eye tracking, regardless of the Pimax Crystal Super, you're going to want to make sure that you have quad views and eye tracking enabled. If these aren't enabled, those little bits of the puzzle we set up with the Pimax software and then the Tallymouse's companion app for the quad views isn't going to work. But even if you don't have eye tracking and you just want to maximize the benefit of quad views, you need to turn that on as well, because that's what will give you that fixed foveated rendering for the headset. While we're on the topic of software, I thought I'd quickly jump in. Yes, this is the ad for the sponsor of today's video, but if you're into flying, Say Intentions AI, ATC, is air traffic control for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, 2020, and the X-Plane series, and it's absolutely wild. Just recently, in July, so gosh, we've only just ticked into August, they released for all premium subscribers the traffic injection. Now, what is traffic injection? It is the ability to have the AI, ATC, controlling the traffic that's injected into Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 so that it knows where the traffic is. You've got real-time sequencing. I've even had it where I've come in to basically taxi across a runway and they've told me to hold short because there's a jumbo 747 coming into land. Normally it wouldn't know that. So you might be crossing over with the game's traffic is going to basically break the immersion from what the ATC is telling you. A couple of different subscription models. They've got a free subscription. They've got Entourage, which is a one-time payment. And they've also got the premium subscription, the full bells and whistles, and now with the traffic injection. Plus, they've got a 24-hour free trial where you can try the whole bells and whistles of Say Intentions out to decide if it's right for you. Wow, here we are in the cockpit of the F4. We are on the Nevada map and it's just incredible. I cannot explain how sharp everything looks. The fixed foveated rendering is working incredibly well. Tally Mouse's settings just work really good. There's a small bit of optimization that might be able to be done to help remove just where you see the edges of the grey translucent square, which is where the fovation is. It's really hard to explain or to demonstrate apart from actually seeing it, but once you're up in the air and flying amongst the clouds, you really don't notice it. It's really me sitting here and really focusing, laser focusing on all the gauges and where my eyes are going. But just to look around the cockpit is absolutely stunning. And I know a question a lot of people want is when you're sitting here looking out the windscreen, can you glance down with your eyes without moving your head to see the gauges? And the answer is yes. If I'm looking directly out the windscreen here, I can glance down and pretty much see the cockpit display or the gauges just above that red caution symbol. Now, granted, some of the dials and numbers and stuff are a little hard to see unless I do physically look down with my head, but I can pretty much see, I'd say, everything down to the temperature gauges in right hand side there. Those temperature gauges there, if I was to glance down, I can't quite make out the numbers, they're a little blurred, but I can certainly see the needle in relation to where they are on the gauge, if that gives you a good indication. So left and right, as shown in the previous pictures, you've got a really nice field of view, and it's in proportion to where you are in the cockpit. I'm assuming that where we sit in regards to DCS when you do a HMD reset will put you in that position. So it's beautiful. What can I say? Distance detail is stunning. Looking out at those mountains is the sharpest and the clearest I have ever seen it. It just looks so good. It really does. It's just amazing. And I mean, I'm looking and I can see all the detail in the concrete down there. It's just crazy. So let's get in the air. Let's stop flapping our gums. I'm just going to turn on motion compensation. So that's a quick cheeky little Control C. Okay, we've got motion compensation on. Right, let's check our flight surfaces. So rudder is good. Okay, ailerons are good. We're going to go half flaps and let's put her in the sky. Okay, we are full military power. We're running the VP Force Rhino force feedback stick. You can probably see it flapping around in my hand there, so we'll just stabilize that so we don't blow a tire. Okay, and rotate. Ooh, we are in the air. Landing gear up, flaps up. Whoop. Whew. We're going to go for a cheeky fly through Vegas, and you can keep an eye on the frames per second there. Okay, so we're going to bank left, and the headset is just, it's just stunning. It really is. It's playing so smooth. Visually, it is just so clear. Oh man. And this is really my first full exposure to eye tracking, and it's just blowing my mind. Although I had my friend's headset for a little while, Andrew, the Air Force pilot, I didn't really get a lot of time with that, and this is where I'd really been able to experience it. Microsoft Flight Simulator as well, but like, I guess DCS is just, oh man, it's a game unto itself. It is just stunning. And you can see there the frames are holding pretty damn steady, and Nevada, especially through this populated area, is pretty demanding. And I think they've done some updates on the map here, because it's looking really damn good. Really, really good. Okay, so we're coming in low level. We're full afterburner here. Oh, this looks incredible. It really does. On a by the road here. Oh man, this is just amazing. Gosh, this looks beautiful. All right, let's go for a climb. Climb into a roll. Wow, this looks, and the field of view is brilliant. It really is getting us back to where I guess we want to be from the AKX days. Man, this is amazing. I know I can't, but I feel like I could see the individual grains of sand down there. The sharpening that the Tally Mouse has shown, and combination with the resolution of this headset is, this is the best I've ever seen this game. It looks absolutely stunning. It's, man, it's starting to actually look just like it would on a 4K OLED monitor. It's looking beautiful. The blacks are really good with the dimming, the gauge cluster, the lights. Man, it's just absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So we'll back off the power a little bit there. We're going to drop altitude a little and roll left. We'll go for a little bit of a fly out over the mountains here to the left. And I mean, this is just great. This is holding steady, high 50s, hitting 60s, and for me personally, 60 frames a second, 50 frames a second at DCS is really smooth. I'm having a really good time. God, the blacks and the colors, just, well, the shadows on those mountains there just look incredible. So we come in low level, we'll stroke the ground, and then we're going to punch up through the cloud structure there. And gosh, I'd completely forgotten about the translucent grey square while I was flying and talking. So you really don't notice it once you're in the action and you're focusing on flying. It really does go away. The fixed foveated rendering with eye tracking certainly helps that. This just looks incredible. I really am speechless. Although, here I am talking a lot. Gosh, this looks great. This absolutely looks fantastic. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right, let's go for a punch up through the clouds here. So we're gonna go full military power afterburner, and we are on for a climb. Oh, the sun glaring through the windscreen there. That looks amazing. Wow. Oh, this is fantastic. Oh, the moon. Oh man, this is wild. This really is wild. Oh, it's going to back off the power there a bit. I'm going to start to bring her around. I don't know what we'd call that maneuver, but that was kind of a climb into a roll, into a barrel or a loop. I keep calling it a barrel roll, but it's a loop, isn't it? Oh, wow. This, I've just got no words. Just looks so good. Wow, this looks so good. Gosh, I think it's the distance resolution that's taking my breath away the most. It really, really does look that good. And edge-to-edge clarity is really, really good with the Pimax Crystal Super. You've got such a wide sweet spot, and it's funny, the in-game menu of DCS. I really noticed the Mura over the buttons and the fly or the debrief, and you really notice that in the UI of the game massively. It's extreme. But do not be disheartened, because once you get into the game, I am just not seeing any of that in the actual cockpit in the game itself. So I guess I kind of don't care. To me, it's a moot point. And all the testing that I have done, I am just not seeing any mirror in game when playing that's causing me any kind of distraction. I'm virtually just not seeing it at all. And when I say virtually, I'm really struggling to look for it. And I think if anything, it probably happens down the bottom of your viewpoint. So if you're looking down and you're really pushing the angle of the aspheric lenses, that's probably where it's appearing most. But it's not really an area that is usable anyway. You can't, at that extreme angle of your pupils looking down, you're at a point where you're going to want to tilt your head down anyway. But it is just beautiful, absolutely stunning. My goodness. Woohoo! Absolutely insane. All right, I reckon we jump in the F14 and let's do a carrier launch. I've got a pretty cool little load up for that, where there's some real low level cloud cover, a bit of storm activity, and we'll get some rain on the windscreen and just a different cockpit. It's got quite a white cluster, and yeah, that'll be cool. So let's swap aircraft and go for a carrier launch. Okay, here we are, F14 time. We are on the deck of the carrier. We are ready to launch, but let's just take a sec to have a look around the cockpit here, and man, it absolutely looks just so real. Everything's so sharp, the detail. I'm sitting further back to give you hopefully a better perspective of the cockpit itself. Let me just recenter my head position. I'll go right forward, and then if I move back, hopefully we're capturing more of the cockpit. And I can read everything from this position. I can read it. It's just so clear and sharp. My goodness, the colors, the blacks, far out. It's just crazy, man. All right, let's get in position. Okay. Whew. All right, here we go. So we're going to go full afterburner, building power, building thrust. Oh man, this is genuinely something that is pretty terrifying, I must confess. In this motion rig, it gets pretty scary. So here we go. We'll give them a salute. Hold on. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Okay, flaps up, landing gear up. Oh my gosh. It doesn't matter how many times I do that. I am never prepared for it. What's going on here? Filling up. We've got some cross rings happening. Whoa. Okay. Man, we're gonna try and get her flying here. Just gonna back off power a bit there. Whew. Wow. Okay. Let's get up through this cloud structure. So, okay, we're gonna climb. See if we can get some clear sky. Yeah, we got some clear sky ahead. Oh man, to break out through the clouds. And the clouds, look, the clouds have looked really good in DCS for a while. They never used to be the best some years ago, but look at it with the Crystal Super. My goodness. Wow. This is truly incredible. And it's just playing so well. Man, it really is just playing so well. Far out. What an absolutely beautiful game. Woohoo! Oh man, that is amazing. Let's drop down through the clouds and we'll test out some low level, because the terrain down here can get pretty taxing as well. This is the Caucasus, and there's a fair bit of stuff going on to really push the graphics card as well. So we're dropping down. We're going to altitude. Come on. Where's the ground? Am I going to make a mess of it? I'm not seeing it. Man, just going to start leveling out here. Getting a little bit nervous that we're going to... Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so the land is to the right. Whew, that was close. Right, so we're just going to bank right here. Lost my bearings a little bit there. Man, you can see how pilots could really easily, without the training, just completely crash and burn. But wow, the rain on the windscreen just looks amazing. It really cannot be explained how sharp and how clear the resolution is, other than if you have a 4K monitor, or I guess if you've got a smaller format monitor that's, you know, 2K or 1080p even, you know, maybe a 27-inch monitor at 1080p, you're going to see a real sharp level of detail. But if you've got a 4K monitor, honestly, it's what the Crystal Super looks like. It's just so sharp. My gosh. So you can see there, we got a fair bit going on, and where hopefully you can see the FPS. I really despise the FPS counter in DCS. It just doesn't overlay very well, I find, but we're sitting on just shy of 50 there as we're coming in over the land with some rain on the windscreen. And I find around the Caucasus here, with everything cranked up, as you saw with my settings, we're sitting high 40s, low 50s, and we've got some pretty dense cloud cover, rain streaking across the windscreen there, but my gosh, that just looks so real. Wow. It just looks so damn good. All right, so we're gonna get down nice and low here. Might just trim it down a bit. What are we sitting at? Here you go. So we're sitting, yeah, we're fluctuating on 40, 50. Okay, we're low 40s there. We're yeah, okay, so we're low level and we're sitting on sort of 50, high 40s, 50s. You know, we've got chimney smoke and it's playing really smooth. Low level, flying along the ground here, absolutely no problems at all. So I reckon we kick her in the guts and we'll go for a climb. Afterburner's on. How are we going for airspeed? Airspeed's looking good. And into a climb. Woo-hoo-wee. Oh man, this is just amazing. Oh man. Oh man, this is so good. I reckon the clouds look almost as good as Microsoft Flight Simulator now. They are just looking, in certain I think in certain lighting conditions, they almost are equal to it. And that's saying a lot because I really like the cloud structure in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So I've done another one of my crazy sort of climb into a roll, into a loop. Oh yeah, the harness is tightening up there. I've got passive seatbelt tensioning, so it's attached to the ground with elastic strap. And so as the rig tips forward, the harness tightens on me and does a brilliant job of giving you that sense of immersion, that of falling in the seat or being pulled and pushed. It's just amazing. Oh wow. Yeah, this is amazing, especially with the large lab mode for the wider FOV. I'm running at about 126 degrees field of view horizontal, and I mean this is the best I've seen DCS in a VR headset. This is absolutely stellar. Tracking issues are gone. Make sure you turn off chaperone, and I've just had really zero issues with tracking or anything. It's just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. This looks so good. Some pretty impressive results. I was blown away at how some basic adjustments to that face gasket and the wedges could actually give me an increase of, gosh, after I did the wide lab mode, we got about 6 degrees horizontal field of view increase by some very fine tuning adjustments. So well worth it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.